Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor who's been selling homes in North Texas with more than 21 years of experience. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with top community leaders, local businesses, and real estate industry experts to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. I have a wonderful treat for you today. So I know the weather is crazy these days. You're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to, every time the weather channel comes up and there's a storm, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be filing a claim. Is what I start thinking. Well, I have Stephanie Bryant here with Home Services Insurance. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes. Well, I know viewers are out there. You know, insurance premiums are always, obviously, with everything going on, with house prices rising. So does insurance premiums.
Yes.
Unfortunately. And so people are always looking at their policies and, maybe, what they should have. Can they cut back?
Yeah.
So, so let's talk about, about policies and, what you should be looking for in one.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is just look at your deductible for one. A lot of companies are going up on deductibles at renewal, and some clients don't realize that until they have a claim.
Yeah.
And that's just their way of kind of cutting the cost since rates are going up so much.
Gotcha.
For sure, deductibles, make sure you've got enough coverage if we did have a bad tornado or storm and you had to rebuild.
Yeah.
If you've had your policy for several years, you may not have enough coverage to rebuild.
Yeah.
So with the cost of construction going up, and
definitely,
that's something you surely want to make sure you have.
Yes.
But I think the biggest thing is deductible, and make sure you have full replacement cost. I've been noticing some policies, they'll have a endorsement on there on the roof that's a payment schedule, which is not full replacement costs. So if you have a claim minus your deductible, and they only pay a certain percentage of the replacement cost.
Oh gosh.
So yeah.
So sometimes that rosy lower insurance premium is not so rosy.
It's not, especially right now. I mean, companies are making changes, and you may not have, another thing is water damage.
Yes.
That's a big problem.
That's a big thing.
Water sewer backup coverage. That's not standard on a policy. So that's something you want to make sure you have. We see several claims. I mean, I've got a couple friends that's had water backup in their home.
Right.
And they didn't know until they got home and the house was flooded.
Oh, gosh.
So
yes.
That's something a lot of clients think, oh, that'll never happen. It'll never happen.
Right.
I don't need that coverage. And then it happens.
Yes, that one day it does happen.
It does. And you're not home.
Right. Yes. Oh, that's what the nightmare is you've got that a water heater busts and you're not home, and all of a sudden you come home to water to your ankle calves.
Right. Yes.
And that's just, or a pipe burst. So
right. And that's, back when the freeze, some people, went out of town to get away from the cold, and pipe burst and come home and houses are flooded, unfortunately.
Yes. No.
For sure, check your coverage limits. We see policies all the time. A client may have had them for 3, 4, 5 years and never reviewed it, and now they're underinsured just because the cost to rebuild is so much more.
Right. No, I mean, I know my own, last year I saw my premium go up, but then I also saw my rebuild cost went up. So it was in correlation with it. So I was like, oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense. It still hurts.
Yes, and that's something policies do every year. They gradually go up, and that's something else that sometimes if you've had your policy for several years,
Right.
you may actually be overinsured just because it goes up every year.
Yeah.
So in that situation, it's always good to go over the cost to rebuild
Right.
with your agent. Go over what type of kitchen you have. Do you have granite countertops, or is it builder's grade? People make changes.
Oh, definitely.
They upgrade their kitchen.
Right.
But if you don't upgrade your policy,
Then you're not going
be underinsured.
Yes. Yes. So make sure you've updated that policy. If you haven't, or if you're coming to renewal, make sure. I know a lot of times people will get those renewals. Some people I've talked to, and they're like, I don't even know what it is. And I'm like, what? I read mine every year.
Yes, I have reached out to so many clients that they're like, okay, I want to make sure I've got my low deductibles, my 1%,
Right.
and blah, blah, blah. And we go through, and I've had a few that end up with, they've got a 5% deductible, and they had no idea.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea. So
read your policy and check those deductibles, because those could be a make or break deal, especially, maybe you're getting that lower rate that you're paying, yearly or however you're doing it. But your deductible could be where they're going to get you. So.
Right. And there's some clients that, with the rates going up so much, they're looking at ways to get their rates down.
Right.
And depending on the client, if you are in a financial situation where you can do a 2% deductible and it wouldn't bother you, then that's a way to get that premium down.
Okay.
And some do, because, there's a lot of companies that will only do a 2% deductible.
Right.
But that's one way to kind of get that rate down. We've got some companies that will let you adjust the personal property limit.
Okay.
You may not need the amount that comes with the policy.
Right.
So lowering that down could cut costs a little bit.
Okay.
Really just go over all the coverages. If you don't need $60,000 in other structure coverage, take it down. Not all companies will allow you to do that, but some will. So it's worth asking.
Okay. Always ask. You never know.
That's right.
So what are some maybe add-ons that maybe people don't think about that, are some extras that they may consider to add on to a policy?
I think there's a few, but one of the coverages or endorsements that I think a lot of people don't realize is the service line coverage.
Oh, okay.
So that is covering the pipes, whether it's electrical, plumbing, gas, that goes from the exterior of your home to the main source of the street.
Okay.
So I've had several clients that whether they get clogged up, they're cracked, a tree root has damaged them, and they have to dig them up and replace them.
Right.
So there's actually endorsement now to cover that, and it's very inexpensive. You're looking at maybe $30, $40 a year with some companies.
Okay.
And it covers up to $10,000 to $20,000 in coverage.
Okay.
That goes along with the water and sewer backup coverage. Because if the sewer backs up into your home, a lot of times it might be because those lines are clogged.
Correct.
So for just $30 a year, that's going to save you, $5,000 to $10,000. I'm not sure how much it costs, but I'm sure it can get pricey.
It can get pricey, and it's, it can definitely help when you're having to do those lines. So,
the foundation water damage coverage.
Okay.
That's a really good one that some may not know about. A lot of clients, they just get a policy and they think they're covered. You just, if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So the foundation water damage, that's going to cover any damage to your foundation.
Okay.
Let's say if there's a pipe underneath that's leaking, sometimes it'll make cracks in the foundation. Right. So that's going to cover any damage to the foundation or your flooring.
Okay.
Each company's different limits. Some do $25,000. Some you can pick your limit.
Right.
So, and it's not that expensive either. So every company's different, but that's something to ask about.
Definitely, because if you have to repair a plumbing leak, which I had to do that, but I was thankful that it was in my office that has carpet.
Oh,
And so they could just pull it back and fix it and re-stretch the carpet back down.
Yes.
But if it was detected in the hallway or in any other part of my downstairs, it would have been hardwoods and it would have been a little bit of a different.
Yeah, and I think one thing also that is really good that every client needs is the additional replacement cost endorsement.
Okay.
It is additional premium, obviously, but it's going to protect you in a situation where you insured your home for, let's say, $650,000.
Yeah.
Well, there's a large tornado, it destroys homes, the cost of materials, labor has gone up, and now it's going to cost more than $650,000 to rebuild your home. So this endorsement, they have different limits, but like, let's say 25%. It adds an additional 25% replacement cost coverage to protect you in the case it does cost more to rebuild your home. So in that situation, it's really good.
Definitely.
And you can do 25%, you can do 50%. And some policies, especially your high valued homes, depending on the company, they all actually can offer guaranteed replacement cost.
Oh, wow.
So if you have it for $650 and it costs $850, they pay $850. So
wow,
that's good. Always have some kind of additional replacement cost coverage to protect you.
So again, that goes back to reading your policy, seeing what you have, and maybe if I know I have viewers out there that are probably pulling out the policies now. Like, let me check that. And you may want
and you'll be surprised. I mean, you would be so surprised that, you know, you just think, I mean, we all love our insurance agents. And we think we're protected. And, you know, at the time, that may have been the best protection. Because some of these endorsements haven't been available for very long. We're looking at maybe 2 to 3 years, some of them.
Wow. Wow. So definitely update those policies if you haven't, you know, and you just sort of hit renew. Check it out. Well, let's talk about, you know, this is the time of year, like I said in the intro, you know, we got weather, you know, I think, you know, every other day we have some kind of weather until probably July when it goes like when we end up having droughts. You know, people are cringing. Oh, you know, we're having, you know, winds or hail or combination of both. And, you know, they get, you know, say they do get, you know, I guess on, you know, if they do get hail, what's the best, you know, because some people wait and they're, you know, what's the best protocol of filing that claim? Should they wait? Should they file immediately? You know, what's their timeline?
So, I mean, especially during, I say hail season, but we're in Texas, it's hail season all year now. But, you know, I have seen clients file a claim and the next month it hails again. I mean, if the roof isn't leaking, I mean, if it's not like causing further damage, I mean, maybe wait a month. I mean,
wait out.
Just wait a little bit, especially right now.
Hold off on that
when it storms every weekend. But there's really no specific time frame. I mean, you do want to file it, I would say, within 3 or 4 months. The longer you wait, it's just you're giving that company ammunition to say, oh, well, this damage is a year old, so you technically have 2 claims. So you don't want to wait too long. But I mean, especially during, you know, April, May, June, maybe July. Give it a month, maybe, just in case.
Wait till we get over the drought time.
And I think the biggest thing with the hail is have someone look at it first and not the people that's knocking on your door. Get a reputable, someone you know, a referral, a roofer that, you know, that's trustworthy. It's not just going to say everybody has hail. Because some clients I see all the time file a claim and then it doesn't pay out because there's really no damage. It may have held, but it's not enough to cause damage. And right now, even a 0 pay claim will go against you and cause your rates to go up at some point.
So
And
that's something to consider. So don't
Yes.
just be calling.
zero pay claims. I think that's one of the biggest thing that hurts clients right now. I mean, I've got one that's got like 3.
Oh,
And
wow.
some companies won't even insure it because a claim is a claim. It happened.
Right.
It may not have paid out, but there were still activity.
So basically, do your homework first before you call
Yes.
it your claim.
Yes.
So do your due diligence. Do your research. Have your reputable roofer. Call me if you need a reputable roofer. I got your contacts.
For sure.
But do that homework first, and then if they say yes, I think you have a valid claim, here, then call insurance. But don't just because
Right.
if they come out and they say, hey, you really don't have enough
Right.
for a replacement, then that's going to count against you.
Right. And I've seen people like with wind damage, my fence fell over or, something like that.
Right.
Don't just file a claim just because you've got insurance. What's your deductible? Is
Right.
the claim the cost to repair more than your deductible?
Yes.
Because sometimes it's not. And
Yes.
now you've got another zero pay claim.
Yep. So do your homework, check those deductibles too. So, I know from my personal experience, I look at, I'll call the agent and I'll be like, just what's my deductible? Just
Yes.
curious.
Yes.
Just curious.
Yes.
Then when I'm doing my research, so then I'm like, okay, well, then I'll be paying that off.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it's so important to do that and to really, do your homework because, again, you don't want that. So let's talk about, I think this is always a wise idea, and I know personally I need to update mine, is home inventories.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since we just talked about claims.
Yes.
Things happening to your
Things
home. So, yeah.
Yeah, I try to suggest to everyone, do a home inventory. There's so many different ways. Go around, take pictures if you want.
Yeah.
Just, store them online somewhere or make an inventory list. And when you make your inventory list, you want to put, if there's serial numbers, put serial numbers, when you bought it, if there's appraisals, receipts. Keep up with as much as you can because nobody plans on a fire.
Right.
And once you have that fire, you're not going to remember
Right.
everything you've got.
Yes.
Go room to room, write down, clothing, how much, or furniture,
Yeah.
whatever you've got in there. There's apps. There's so many apps. There's some that are free. There's some you can pay for. Those are really good to use. Unfortunately, I have not used one yet, which I need to. I always think about it because I'm like, I tell people to do it and I don't do it.
No. Well, nowadays with the apps, you can, a lot of them, you can take pictures, store your pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. Before, we always had, it was that story and where do you put, keep all those records?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's so easy to just, store them on the cloud or store them, that you have them accessible wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if something happens to your computer, guess what? They're going to be out there for you.
Yeah. So, I think inventory is real important. You're just not going to remember everything.
Right.
And then when you file that claim, if you had that inventory list, especially like an app, it's just as easy as, sending it to the claims adjuster instead of spending weeks trying to remember.
Right. Yeah. And it's going to be helpful for any of these things. You could have water damage in your house, not just, catch on fire, but, if water is just as damaging to your items. So,
And also it's good for let's say your home was broken into and things were stolen.
right.
And do you have a way to prove you had that $40,000 ring?
Yeah.
You didn't have it scheduled.
Right.
So it's,
Definitely.
And especially the higher valued items,
Definitely get those on
get
there.
those on there, get them scheduled. Have a policy just for your jewelry. If it's higher value, don't depend on the
The insurance.
insurance.
Well, that's all so much helpful information. I know everyone right now I can see the viewers, they're getting their policies out. They're they're looking on their phones for the apps for inventory.
Yes, they're out there.
And so, this is such great information. Viewers, I hope you've learned so much. I know you're probably all going back like I am and checking those policies and adding some coverages.
Yeah.
And so enjoy. And if you guys have any questions, message us. We'll be happy to give you on the right track and get you those answers that you need. So thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify, as well as Kimberly's YouTube channel. If you'd like to contact Kimberly directly, you can email her at kimberlywoodard@ebby.com or call 214-632-2092. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week. And remember, don't just love your home, love your community.